Welcome to another episode of Just Ask Cher. Okay, today is going to be a timerless episode. Oh my gosh. Because I forgot to start the timer, and that is no bueno, my friends. Actually, you know what? You know it's going to drive me crazy, right? So I'm going to somehow get it together and make it happen for you guys because I can't play like that. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. That is what we want, right? So let's just see if I can get it where I want it to be. Yes, I know I don't want to go back to full screen. Oh, I can't believe I didn't do this before, guys. Forgive me, but you know I love my timer. I have this love-hate relationship with it. I love to use it. Hate to remember it. But guess what? Here it is. Ready to go. Kind of adjusted the time. So we are good. All right. So welcome to another episode of Just Ask Cher Live. My name is Cher Jones, if you didn't figure that out already. And today, my friends, we are talking about a really bad case of underbranding. And my question is, are you underbranded? And I'm going to give you 7 unmistakable, dead giveaway signs that you are underbranded at work. And of course, I'm going to give you some tips on what you need to do about that. So stay tuned for that because there are going to be some awesome tips. And of course, I got my scroll stopper and Tap That app. 2 Ps. So we got a full packed show for you tonight. And of course, if you have any questions, whether you're watching Team Live or Team Replay, you know that I want to know. So let me know actually right now. Are you watching Team Live or Team Replay? And as you are checking, guess what? I am checking to make sure I am Team Live myself. So let's take a look while you guys are all up in the comments. And yeah, let's see. So, you know, I get the happy face when I see happiness happening. Yes, I do. I see it somewhere. I see that I'm live, I think. We'll see. It says I'm live, but I don't see me live, so that's not good. But let's check. Let's look. Oh, I see it. I see it. LinkedIn was just not being nice, but this is all good. And I see that there's several people already. So let me jump into your comments, of course. And all right, Brian says, I'm good. Thank you. Liberty is Team Live. Steve Worthy, of course, is Team Live. Gabe, you are Team Live. Dan is Team Live. I love it. And all y'all over on Facebook and on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube's, you know, I'm checking for you too. And no, I don't need a timer, right, Dan? See, Dan is Team Cher. That's who Dan is right now. All right. And so today I thought I'd go with a different background. So I'm trying to switch it up each and every week. The lights are kind of close, so it's kind of hot. Maybe I could turn on the AC or something. That would be really smart. But anyways, as we go into today, I would love, before we go any further, if you could, you know, give me a little love in the comments, a little algorithm love with the hand clap or the laughing emoji. I don't care. Just give me some emoji love because then the algorithm will be like, yeah, they're watching her. Why? Let's show it to more people and we'll figure it out. So that's all I'm asking for. It's not too much to ask, is it? So jump that right now, tap that reaction button, whatever tickles your fancy. And now, here's my question for you. Do you struggle with professional modesty? So here's what I mean by professional modesty, by the way. So, and then yes or no in the comments, by the way. So don't forget that part because that's really important. So sometimes a lot of people, most times I would say the people that I talk to, they are not owning their awesome. So they're not showing up the way they need to show up at work. And I'm not just talking on LinkedIn. This is not just a LinkedIn thing here. I'm talking at work. Are you taking credit where credit is due? I want to know yes or no in the comments below, because there are going to be signs, dead giveaway signs that I'm going to be sharing today that says either you are or you're not. So if you're saying yes to these signs, guess what? You can say, yes, you struggle with professional modesty, right? Because you do want to show up right. So I see Matthew's in the house too. And so I want to know. So Dan says no. Dan, I don't think you do either. I think you're really good at owning your awesome, which is amazing. So keep doing what you do. But it is so important that, one, you got to know if you have a problem or not. So what does professional modesty actually look like? What does that sound like? So for example, are you underselling your effort? Do people know what you do at work? And are you getting credit for it? Are you taking the credit when someone tries to take it away from you? Do you describe your true input, your worth, when you are having those conversations that matter? Whether you have a champion, whether you have a mentor or a sponsor, someone that you're working with, someone who's referring your business, do you talk about what you do well? And do you talk about the outputs, like the things, the results of what you do? Are you owning that? Are you looking for opportunities to showcase it in a way that serves? And a lot of times what you can do is you can showcase your impact through content, through how you describe yourself, through how you introduce yourself when you're on a Zoom meeting, in person, at a conference. You got to start owning your awesome. Because here's the thing. If people don't know, they're not going to know that that's something that you can do. And it is your job to own it. So I want to make sure that you are owning it. Oh, Randall is in the house. Oh, Randall, it has been a minute since I've talked to you. I hope you're doing well, sir. And so yes, I want you guys to start owning your professional modesty. I feel like I'm a little bit loud. Let me know, guys, if my mic's too heavy for you. Yes or no in the comments, whether you're watching live or on the replay. But let's hop right into my tips for you guys. Okay, so these are the signs that you are definitely underbranded. And underbranded means this: you are not being asked. So what do I mean when I say that? Have you ever had a situation where you see other people getting opportunities and you're wondering, why didn't they ask me? Right? Or you're seeing other people get clients and you do the same thing and you're like, well, and you actually kind of know the people that they're working with or something like that. And you're like, why didn't they ask me? Why didn't they ask me to do that? Why didn't they ask me to speak on the stage? And I know it sounds like you're being a little bit of a brat, but you're not. You're actually looking at the situation saying, like, why didn't they ask me? Why didn't they ask me to speak at this place, this opportunity in front of these people? Why didn't they ask me to be on this project or for my input? This is a big dead giveaway when they're not when the opportunity is available to ask you for your input and they're not asking. Because maybe that's a chance, and that is a sign that you may be underbranded. When you're seeing opportunities that are just so right for you and you're just not being asked about it, right? That's one. All right, so the next one. This one hurts. So this is the and you are. People who should know you and don't. So you could show up to a meeting and they're still like, what's your name? Oh, wait, you look kind of familiar. Or the worst is when they're looking up to see who you are, whether you're reaching out to them on LinkedIn. And then you could tell that they looked at your profile and then they didn't do anything with it, right? So you put your name in for something. You want to be on a project. You wanted a certain opportunity at work. You wanted to be a part of a podcast. You wanted to do something. And somebody checked you out and was just like, They just didn't do anything about it. That is a no. And that sucks. But that oftentimes the reason why they're not clicking forward or they're not extending forward is because they don't know enough, right? Especially when they don't really know you. Your brand is the story people tell themselves about you and the experience they imagine that they'll have with you based off of what they know, right? So that's that story. And if your brand isn't telling a good enough story, you're not going to get good enough results. So I want you to keep that in mind. All right. So moving on to the next. Again, that what exactly do you do question is not a great question to be asked at all, because that means oftentimes that people, they know that you're part of this team. They don't necessarily know your contribution. And especially right now, in these days where, you know, there's, especially in the tech space, and we're seeing it, you know, elsewhere, where there are a lot of layoffs, right? And sometimes you just can't help it. That has nothing to do with your brand. It's just, it is what it is. But oftentimes when they are deciding who's above the line and who's kind of below it, it often goes based off of impact and knowing, like, that does make a difference between above and below. Not always, but it certainly does make a difference. So that's another thing that you have to start thinking about when people don't know what you do. What they don't know, even worse, is the impact. What you do to solve the problems, contribute to the collective of what's happening at your company, how you lead, how you work with, how you support, how you help your clients. How do you, especially if you are a consultant or a director, VP, and especially in large financial institutions, how do you stand out when there's like a million people with the same VP of this, director of that? There's a million directors and a million VPs. Like, these are the things when you have to start thinking about your contributions. And it's not just in what you write on your LinkedIn profile. It's how are you staying top of mind? How are you making sure people know? What sort of proof are you putting out there? So those are things that I want you to start thinking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to jump to the comments, see if there's anything to be considered. I love the fact that Gabe says, I don't struggle with professional modesty. I've learned to accept it. And I always call it my humble brag. Okay, I like that too. And Gabe says the mic sounds great. And Nita Jane says, great seeing you, Cher. Good. And we are going to see more of Nita in this episode. So stay tuned on that. And I'm loud, but not because of my mic. I'm sorry about that, Faith. Better question. Why didn't you ask them? I love that. So it's turning it around. And then you can get, so that's coming from Bonnie, and then you can get that feedback around why didn't they ask, right? Why aren't they asking? So oftentimes you hear, oh, I didn't know you were even interested in that. I didn't know you did that. I didn't know that you brought that to the table. There are oftentimes, oh, I didn't remember. That's even worse. I didn't remember, right? And Bonnie says that means you're not communicating what you do, and more importantly, why you do it. And that story, that drive, that vision is what people remember and they attach themselves to. So this is so important. And how do you stay top of mind is an ongoing concern. Absolutely, Jane, that is an ongoing concern. And so one of the things that I am really an advocate for is, one, creating the right kind of what I would call win-win content. So content that teaches, right? So for example, as the leader that you are, you can talk about the leadership lessons that you are already working with people on your team, or the things that you're doing, but kind of like almost as if creating content around training another version of yourself, because as you go, someone has to come and replace you. So what are the things, whether they're soft skills where you can bring in stories, not necessarily, reveal anything that shouldn't be revealed, but bring in stories and talk about that and educate your network, because someone can benefit from your experience, but at the same time, look for opportunities to sprinkle in that impact and why it works. And you're the proof of that. But don't just stop on LinkedIn. Not all content is for social media. oftentimes you can share little bits and pieces of content that that can be shared within the organization, can be shared just within leadership. Say, this is an impact. This is testimonial. This is what happened. This is what our team did. You can showcase culture. You can showcase how your team is working together, and then the tips around that. There are so many different ways. And yes, it is a matter of that level of consistency and making sure the right people know. But also, I'm going to get into this a little later, it is making sure the people have the language to advocate for you. So many, I know that you're not one of them, but many people, they don't have the language to talk about themselves. They can't tell people exactly what they do. And that is a problem. Because if I can't communicate to you what I do, then how would we expect a sponsor, a champion, a mentor even, right? To talk about you when you're not in the room. Right? A client to refer you. They can talk about their experience and that will still work and that's all good. But can they really clearly communicate what it is you do? Right? So that's really important. So let's jump back into the list here. And so that should be you are gifts. Your gifts are unused. So what does that mean? So you know that you're sitting at work, you're sitting in your role, whatever that role may be, and you're sitting on these gifts. Those gifts are literally burning a hole in your pocket. You're dying to use them. But that might be a problem of people don't know that you are so gifted in those areas because your job doesn't necessarily support that. But how can you light those gifts up so people are aware of that? And sometimes you have to look for different opportunities. So sometimes you have to build the door or bring your own seat to a table so that you can showcase that you even have these gifts. So that could be a stretch project. That could be you volunteering with other with other community organizations, creating lunch and learns. Like there's so many different ways. It depends on what your gift is, or even just creating through your social media. So for example, if you have this gift to speak and present, but yet you're not getting that at work. Well, that doesn't mean you can't do it online. That means you can't do it. That doesn't mean you can't do it for somebody else. You can do a LinkedIn Live just like this to start to showcase those particular gifts. Let's say, for example, you have that gift that you want to create a podcast or you want to create content where you're on camera. And that's not for everybody I know. I'm just giving this as an example of someone that's top of mind. Go figure. But you can start. I've always recommended that when people want to create something, especially with value and with impact and importance, you can create a pilot version of an internal podcast or a client-based podcast. So what you do is before you ask for permission, you go and you create just a pilot version, or you work with your team and say, hey, I want to create a pilot version of a podcast. So it's just a pilot. Pilot's such a magic word because you can then experiment with it. And there's no harm, no foul. It doesn't mean it has to go to air or be posted somewhere, but you have an example of what this could look like. So that's another way to use gifts. Again, finding outside sources or outside opportunities to use your gifts and then showcase them so people know that you had those gifts. Also, how you position yourself and reposition yourself so those gifts are front and center. Those might also lead you to new opportunities. So that's super important. The next thing, oh my gosh, this one is hard. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're in that role. We're so glad you do what you do, but you've been doing what you do, that same job for 3-4 years. When you hear that too often, I'm so glad you're here. Sometimes it would take, and a lot of you might recognize that replacing you will cost 2.5 people, maybe even 3 because you're so damn good at your job, right? This now becomes a bit of under branding because, and I'll tell you why. While you're being branded at good at that job, you're not being branded for what's next, right? So there's less or fewer opportunities for you to level up or wanting to be moved up, because you might be caught in a situation where you not being in that role makes work for somebody else. And if anybody else knows about this, I bet you there's several people watching right now who knows what that feels, where it's like, well, everybody else, even though the person who has that immediate sort of, that immediate access to you and is keeping you in that position, that doesn't mean everybody else doesn't need to see your wasted talents and that you've been there long enough, and you need to start articulating what it is you do, what else you're excited to do, so you can do next, so you can go on to next. That is not the case for everybody, but I know that it is enough that, again, other people besides your immediate direct report needs to know that you are good at what you do beyond what you've been doing for too long. So that is something that you need to keep in mind, because you don't want to be branded for just that one thing, right? And Matthew says, being too good in a role without forward momentum becomes a huge liability. And that is absolutely true. And Whitney says, that's good. Volunteering your unused gifts can open up so many opportunities. You're absolutely correct, Whitney. And I mean, I know we both serve and go to the same church, and like even within like community organizations or church organizations and volunteer organizations, you can definitely look for opportunities to serve. And with the way things are going, there's so much of online capacity that you don't even need to leave your house to serve an organization and to get the experience that you want. There are too many places out there that can showcase your skill set, and then it's up to you to let people see what it is you're doing. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then, I'm good at what I do and I know it. That's what Gabe says, and I love that. And Dan says, Cher, you know I adore you, but I feel like you don't own your greatness nearly enough. Oh, it's because of the consistency, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I agree. You know what? And maybe that's why I'm doing this. And it's interesting, Dan, because a lot of the things that I've been working on and putting out there recently, it all has to do with where I'm at. I'm always in the zone of, what I'm thinking, what's in my head usually has to get out in some way or another. So I may be on some of these points preaching to the choir. So I recognize that, and I appreciate the call out on that, because that's super important. Because yes, anything that I'm doing is usually because I'm thinking about it or it's happening to a client, and that's how this content sort of bubbles up. So here's another one, is no next strategy. So what's your next? What do you want next? A lot of people are waiting for the tap. Right? You're doing a good job. We're going to promote you into this position. We know that it doesn't work that way anymore. The branded wheel gets the grease. So that means those who show up and do a good job and have a great brand are more likely to get the opportunities, because they're remembered and people know what they do, and people can share that person through social, through conversation, because they actually have the language to talk about them. So just keep that in mind, that you need a strategy. You need to know, well, who do I need to talk to? What do I have to have? Do I have to build a relationship? And you should, with a sponsor or a champion, or with a referral partner. If you're in sales, for example, like those things really do matter, but you have to have that next strategy for where you want to be. Right? So you got to see that bigger vision, right? And then have the strategy of the relationships and the activities that will help you get to next. So you can be your future self now by starting to work and operate in that zone so you get there faster. Okay. And the final one, let me move my little timer out of the way. Let me see, what did I say? I'm missing a word there. They don't know what to say. So I've been talking about that. I'm going to cover that because I can't stand another typo. So they don't know what to say, right? And so basically, when I say they don't know what to say about you. So I kind of alluded to that, and that's the last one, is people don't know what to say. They don't know how to describe you. They don't have the language, and it is your job to give people the language to talk about you. And again, as I was saying earlier, if they don't have that language, then if you don't have that language, how can you expect them to talk about you? So you've got to nail your language. So what do you need to do in this situation, right? When you are working on your brand, right? What do you need to do? So one of the things that has come up many times is mastering your message. And that's talking about yourself, being able to position what you do in a way that people will remember, right? Another thing is having the proof. So you've got to have the proof that you can do what you say you do, that you've been doing what you're doing, that you have the skills, and that can come through content. And like I said before, not all content is for the interwebs. Okay. There's a lot of stuff that can be shared within a client that never gets posted online, but you still produce it like content. It can be shared with different leaders, different companies, whatever it is. There's internal content and external content. So keep that in mind. Also look for the opportunities to give yourself the opportunities that you're not getting so that you can put them on display. Okay. And then also having that strategy to build your brand, to get to that next point is absolutely critical. Or else, guess what, guys? You're just going to stay underbranded, and that is no bueno. You bring too much into the world, and you should be operating in your zone of genius and get what you want. So how did it get to 4 minutes and 36 seconds? How did that happen? Was I really talking that long? I feel like the timer is cheating me. Okay, we got to move on. But this was a good topic. I hope that you can see the signs. And if you see yourself in at least 2 to 3 of these points, guess what, my friend? You are underbranded. And if you have questions about being underbranded and you want to start building that brand, you know who to reach out to. Just send me a message. Also, so bottom line, based off of these questions, are you underbranded at work? That's the question I have for you. Are you underbranded at work? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments below. I'm seeing you guys already showing me love, which I really appreciate. Okay. And I know so much value, so little time. Hey, Lloyd, how are you? And I love the fact that Randall says, I definitely know what my next is, and I am working on it, which is so awesome. And that's what we all need to be doing. We all need to be like Randall, my friends. You got to know what your next is, and you got to be working on it. All right. So coming up next, I want to remind you, especially if you have questions around what your next should be. And let me just fix my timer once again. No. You definitely want to take my quiz. And what it does, if you just have to go to personalbrandingquiz.com or scan the QR code right now, and it will help you figure out your top 3 personal branding priorities based off of the different categories. So I have 3 different categories based off of the category that your answers place you in. I will give you your top 3 personal branding priorities. Okay. So I think there's 4 personal branding categories within that quiz. So definitely take it. Only 8 questions, and you will get some really good answers and a video from me too. So make sure you take it after this. All right. So next thing, I want to get to my scroll stopper. Oh my gosh, this show. Okay. So first of all, guys, I'm already pausing my timer because it's going to stress me out. Where's my timer? Hold on, guys. I already feel it. I already can feel the stress of the time. So we're going to pretend that it's 2:28 for a little time. Okay. Don't worry about it. I promise. It'll be good stuff. All right. So we're going to get into my scroll stopper, and the scroll stopper is really dope. So today's scroll stopper is brought to you by, I think I'm going to change camera angles. Let's see. Hey guys, it is brought to you by Beth. And she is a phenomenal lady that I just came across her stuff today. So Beth Heddle, and she's into really cool, the really cool world of, why can't I remember? I apologize. Can't see the way I want it to because I've been playing around with my stuff. Anyways, let me get to a closer look. This is what Beth shared, and I think it is so super dope. It was this Tiffany ad, and basically, and I'm going to move over to here. Basically, this Tiffany ad, she deals with like multimedia branding, so going from going from like online world to offline world and advertising. That's the word I was looking for today, guys. And anyways, she is doing some phenomenal work right now. So what I love about what she's doing is she is like just crushing it when it comes to the breakdown. So I'm going to take a look at the post in the next slide. Give me just a second here. I changed my whole setup, guys, so that I could have this angle. And now I'm like, girl, you can't see anything. So I'm just like, okay, next time I know what to do. All right. But anyways, let's take a look here at what she's doing, which is pretty dope. And give me 1 second. We're going to move over. Guys, this is not as smooth as I want it to be today, but that's okay because we are now going to go full screen so we can take a look. So she does a lot of e-commerce, but by the way, Beth, Web3, omni-channel, that's the word I couldn't read. But anyways, she's doing some awesome work. So basically what she did is she took an ad and she also took just the example of what Tiffany is doing. And she has this attention grabbing video where you could see in 3D what this installation looked like. And you could actually scan a code, use a Snapchat filter, and try on these bracelets virtually while you're in front of this installation. And so she did a really good job. Not only did she give this attention grabbing video, which we don't have time to watch because we are going to be here all night. And I want to make sure that you guys actually learn something today. Okay. So what she did was she broke it down like a true expert. So let's take a look at her examples here. And there we go. Bear with me a second as I find what I want. Okay. Why did I leave? I literally lost everything. Bear with me a second, guys. So you can see I've lost my screen here. Oh, hold on a second. This is not nice. All right, there we go. So here we got is that first line, it matches her energy, right? So she's going, you really got that going well. And then look at this, look at the way that she structured this post. So she really dove deep into the visual layout, but she goes deep. She breaks down 3 different areas from the billboard to the strategy. She also educates at each and every level. And then at the end of the post, I wish I pulled it up for you guys, because she mentions the team, right? And she also shares a call to action at the end. So if you want to try it on, there's a link in the comments that you can actually try on this installation, right? But what I loved about what Beth was doing is that she definitely made herself someone who was really crushing the game as far as making sure that she was the expert. So this wasn't just a, hey, this is a pretty post that I found someone shared and I thought it was really cool. This was something where she was literally educating in this 3-part. I'm going to leave the link in the comments so you guys can check it out for yourself, because literally this was so awesome. I wish I wasn't having all these tech things that I'll remember for next time that, hey, Cher, you can't see properly when your setup's like this. But anyways, she did a fantastic job. She had a call to action with the link in the end, and then she also had her post signature, which a lot of people are doing. So making sure that if you want to learn more from her, you ring her bell. And also she talks about what she does. So as an omni-channel expert, Web3, the metaverse, all that kind of stuff in the advertising world, she is just educating day in and day out. So well done, Beth. You did an awesome job with that. So that is the scroll stopper for today. I thought she did an amazing job. And the next thing that I want to show you guys is I want to talk about Tap That App. So Tap That App is really interesting, as a lot of things are coming out, excuse me, with AI. Are you having issues even detecting or feeling like, is this real or is it AI? Because I know I am, right? I know that I'm starting to hear like podcasts where it's like, that person didn't even take a breath. They've been talking, or they go up and down in this newsy tone or whatever, and they just don't sound real. So I'm like, this doesn't feel real. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. So I know Nita's in the comments, and I want you to take a look at this. Bear with me just a second. So Nita posted this really cool video, and she talked about how the fact that she's getting, and I'll share the video with you actually. It's not too long, so it's worth watching. And let me play it for you. Sorry, guys.
Generated by AI. The plan lacked technical detail, and it was obvious that the prototype in question didn't exist. Something had to be up. I decided to run the text through 7 different AI detection tools, starting with GPT-0, which didn't detect, so I then moved on to OpenAI's classifier, which said the text could possibly be written by AI. So far, 1 count for human, 1 count for maybe AI. Sapling AI also thought that the text was likely written by a human. But copy leaks, cross-flag, hive moderation, and paraphrasing AI all called foul. So then I had 4 votes for AI, 2 votes for human, and 1 vote for maybe AI. In case you're wondering, this person did in fact admit to using AI.
That could have been my scroll stopper, but I'd already set up and found another one. So that one did a phenomenal job talking about it. And so one of the things that was interesting, what I have found as a resource for you, if you're wondering if, so all of a sudden somebody who's never been blogging in their life or never writing, and all of a sudden they're writing these amazing, this amazing content. Are you wondering, did they write that? Or how much of that writing is theirs? So I wanted to show you guys just a resource that I found for you. And bear with me just a second. And it is called Chat GPT Detectors. It's actually a website. So let me pull up the site for you. And give me a second to grab it. Okay, so this is the website. So it's chatgptdetectors.com. And there are several. So Nita mentioned some in her post, but here are links to all of them. And past AI, there's so many. I think there's like about 8 on his site right now. And he's always testing to see which ones are good. But there are so many detectors that you can take a look at. So I think he has more than, wow, he has like 12 or 13 on here. So if you ever wanted to test, and he rates them, so that's pretty good. I know the top ones are like the ones originality.ai, pass.ai, AI detector.pro, and Winston AI. They all get 5 stars, and he's a great YouTube channel, the person who is producing this website. So it's just something to be aware of, that there are resources out there that can help you if you're wondering if something is AI or not. So I'm curious right now, have you guys noticed that? Okay. And no problem. Nita, I really appreciated the content itself. So again, if you guys are looking for a resource to find out, and also even to check if your stuff sounds too much like AI, you definitely want to do that. Okay. And finally, we are going to move into my A's to your Q's. If you guys have any questions, you definitely want to ask them, and I will get to them in the comments because we are running a little bit over time. But definitely, if you have any questions, do your thing, ask them. And of course, but at the same time, I would love it if you could do me a favor and repost this, share it with a friend, especially if you know that they are underbranded and it's time for them to step into their awesome and brand themselves. And as well, I want to make sure that you guys know what's coming up next. And actually, I gave you kind of a little bit of a clue. It is with AI, and it has everything to do with leveraging AI with your brand so that you can still be authentic, original, and you, but yet use the power of AI to produce faster and better. Because there is a way to help AI help you with indecisive. If you're not feeling great about when you're indecisive and you're not feeling great about your content, you definitely want to leverage that, get new ideas, give you perspectives that you've never thought about before. So I'm going to share some of the ways that I'm leveraging AI and that you should be too, and also how I'm teaching my clients how to use AI when it comes to their personal brands. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in the next episode of Just Ask Cher. So definitely stay tuned for that. And that was 5 signs that I gave you 7. So that was 5 signs that you are under branded at work. And if you have any questions, you can ask them and I'll answer them in the comments below. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Just Ask Cher Live. See you later.